ways. What
confident software solutions.
Good morning, everyone. Please take your seats. Our program will begin shortly. Once again, we'd like to ask everyone to please take your seats. Our program will begin in 2 minutes.
The answers may seem light years away, but if we keep our focus, we'll reach that light at the end of the tunnel. What does it mean to adapt? Our built environment is evolving. It's essential that we reset our ways to protect it and nurture it. What does it mean to reinvent? By reimagining how we construct and use our spaces, it can lead to the revival of sustainable practices and towards a more welcoming and inclusive society. The world needs a reboot. So, what does it mean to adapt? And what does it mean to reinvent?
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 2022 Property Guru Asia Real Estate Summit. Hi, guys. Oh, you guys got to do better than that. Hi, guys. There you go. Okay, if you're seated next to a stranger or somebody unfamiliar, maybe you want to turn to your, right or left and say hello. Hello, and this is going to be a great day, and hopefully my cough doesn't bother me today. But anyway, my name is Tina Ryan, your cruise director for ARIS 2022. Together, we'll navigate through this important event as we celebrate Property Guru Week and showcase the finest in the industry. It is so nice to be back on the ARIS stage and meet all of you. Hi, Nick. It's so good to see you. A lot of you guys I've met online. We do a little podcast, and yeah, I'm just so happy that you finally meeting you up and close. Our theme for ARIS 2022 is Adaptive Reinvention, as you saw in our very beautiful opening film. And I'm very happy to present to you an exciting and diverse lineup of thought-provoking and insightful discussions and presentations throughout the day. Now, we're all here to learn from industry's experts and thought leaders. Half of ARIS speakers, ladies and gentlemen, are women or members of the LGBTQ plus community. And we'll get inspired by innovators in real estate and prop tech, and of course, connect with business leaders, sustainability advocates, pioneering women, disruptors, and the people behind the latest technologies and innovations that will impact the regional's real estate sector. Now, our summit would not have been possible without our sponsors and partners, so Property Guru Asia Real Estate Summit would like to thank the following. Official MICE partner, Thailand Convention and Exhibition Bureau, or TCEB. Official partner, Property Guru for Business. Official partner, channel partners, History and Lifetime. We have official magazine Property Report by Property Guru. Official ESG partner, Bond Deck Foundation. Official charity partner, Leader of Light Foundation. Official PR partner, Artemis Associates. We have our supporting partners, Green Building Consulting and Engineering. International Finance Corporation, or EDGE. We have IFC Building Resilience Index and REDA Institute. And of course, our media partners, D+A, Esquire Philippines, Hot Magazine, People Asia, REM Thailand, Southeast Asia Globe, The Grid, and thinkofliving.com. Thank you to all our sponsors and partners from around the region. We have a number of booths in our ARIS foyer, so feel free to visit their booths when you get the chance. Now, our theme for our day-long summit is Adapted Reinvention, so we're going to learn about everything that connects our lives today in our homes, offices, learning institutions, and digital spaces. So what do we have for you today? We have global experts, industry leaders, innovators, award-winning creators, women business leaders and visionaries, disruptors who will use their wisdom and experience to create what's next. Now, there will be keynote presentations, panel discussions, a case study, a special preview. the presentation of the awards for Developers Choice Award, the Tech Innovation Award, and the Visionary of the Year. I'm almost there, you guys. And we'll also pick winners of our lucky draw, so don't miss any of it. So as is a tradition, ARIS 2022 is thematically divided into 4 segments. All sessions are back-to-back, so it's going to be a fast-paced and jam-packed summit. Hold on tight, and we hope you enjoy the ride. Again, please enjoy the booths and snacks served throughout the day in our foyer area. And if you've noticed, we have something new to ARIS. The meeting pods that you see on either side of the stage are available, so you won't have to leave this hall for face-to-face meetings. Brilliant. Okay, so we have 2 meeting pods to represent the 2 founders of PropertyGuru Group. So in between our morning and afternoon sessions, we have a networking lunch. So please keep your name badges on. No badge, no lunch, guys. So make sure you have that on, okay? And don't lose them. And again, you can get connected on our social media pages and share your thoughts and fun photos on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, or me with my mouth open, you know. I never have a good photo when I'm on stage. Again, use the hashtag Guru Summit. Once again, the hashtag is Guru Summit. Okay? Before we kick off today's session, we'd like to hear a few words from our organizer. Please give it up for PropertyGuru's Managing Director of Marketplaces. Come on. Come on, give it up for Jeremy Williams.
Thank you very much, Tina. How are we doing? Everyone excited about the day ahead? Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, our partners and fellow gurus, a very warm welcome to the 8th PropertyGuru Asia Real Estate Summit. It's wonderful to be back in person after 3 years, and we appreciate you taking the time to join our annual Thought Leadership Summit. It is very fitting that the return of the Asia Real Estate Summit, or RES, happens on this day, the 8th of December, which is the foundation day of the PropertyGuru Group. It is also fitting that the theme of this year's summit is adaptive reinvention, something that our company has certainly demonstrated. In 2007, 15 years ago, PropertyGuru's 2 founders, represented by these 2 meeting pods, began the journey to help people make confident property decisions in a small shophouse in Singapore's Chinatown. Today, we are Southeast Asia's leading PropTech company, attracting over 40 million property seekers every month. We have relationships with over 64,000 agent customers, have recently launched new business units focusing on data and software solutions and fintech. And later this morning, we have an exciting new launch exclusively for you, our property enterprise customers. For its 8th year, RES has gathered the brightest minds, top-level business leaders and decision-makers in the property and technology sectors from around the world. Over these 8 years, our goal for RES has remained constant: to educate, innovate and inspire, sharing ideas, inspiring innovation and developing practical solutions that can help improve our built environments. Our theme this year, as I mentioned, is adaptive reinvention. We will focus on how our cities, communities and built environments can adapt to changes, and how we, the inhabitants and developers of these environments, can use best practices and lessons from the past to build the communities of tomorrow. We will be challenged by discussions on sustainability, inclusivity, diversity and creativity. Hear about humanitarian tech. Discussions designed to encourage and stimulate thinking on how we will adapt and reinvent ourselves post the pandemic. There will also be some surprises throughout the day, so ladies and gentlemen, leave your seats at your own risk. We have gathered over 40 experts from around the world, and trust me, you don't want to miss a minute. Please enjoy our exciting and engaging lineup of sessions today. Let's get things started. Thank you.
I like that. Leave your chairs at your own risk, huh? Okay, so thank you so much, Jeremy. Now let's hear from our ARIS chairperson, Stephen Ohm.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure to be the chairman of the Asia Real Estate Summit and to welcome you all here today. As we saw in the introductory film, the conclusion was that the world is changing, and in actual fact, the world has changed. And I really think that that is exactly correct, and hence the theme for the summit this year. I think that there is a lot of challenges and a lot of change, and I think that on the cusp of 2023 and looking into 2023, 2024 and beyond, that there are very significant number of challenges and also opportunities. And it's how we view those and how we think about those that is really going to be the success of organisations and beyond in countries and regions, etc. And on this slide, I put in together on the left some of the challenges and on the right some of the opportunities. My perspective is I'm an independent consultant, and my focus is on value management and sustainability and combining the two. And just as a framer for the theme of today and what we'll all be discussing and exploring today is possibly, well, all of those issues, the ones that we must face on the left-hand side, and then the other issues in terms of value and sustainability, and really probably focusing in on the last four in a way, in that when we're looking at the challenges and when we're looking at the opportunities and when we're looking at sustainability, that the financial outcomes and the financial benefits of doing all of that are extremely high, and also to really myth bust the concept that sustainability and for progress must cost more money, because I really believe that that is incorrect. And I have some examples of how sustainability and value is different for different people around the world, and also how we can combine that with actually reducing capital costs and reducing life cycle, operational costs, etc., and so much more in the value management proposition. So I've worked on a lot of, and I really enjoy small projects and medium projects, but I've actually chosen some of the larger projects that I've worked on just to illustrate the breadth and extent of advantages, different perspectives, and value financial outcomes. I was on the board of the Burj Khalifa and also involved in the value management of the total 138 plots that make up downtown Dubai. Now, when the Burj Khalifa was built, the tallest building in the world was Taipei 101 at 508 metres. The Burj Khalifa was 60% taller than anything man had ever built at 828 metres. It was an astonishing achievement and challenges in absolutely every single area unprecedentedly. It also occurred as the financial crisis hit the Middle East, etc., which is a little bit later than the rest of the world, and there were a lot of challenges. We brought the project in on budget and on time, which was a feat in itself. We also did a lot of sustainability issues, energy management and water management and all sorts of things like that. But in actual fact, one of the things that we really did, and what unfortunately the Burj Khalifa and this whole precinct isn't fully recognised for, is in the Middle East, life was totally consumed by the automobile. And the city grew, and it grew by a million people roughly every 10 years or more, and everybody was using the car, and the urban sprawl, the city got bigger and bigger and bigger. And this development changed the way that people thought about living and value and progress, because this part of the city was designed for 100,000 people, and people now walk to work, they walk to the shops. The mall, which is just one of the 138 plots, it now gets very regularly 200,000 people visiting it per day. It totally changed the fabric of sustainability and what a city was in the Middle East. And so many other developments now, not only in the Middle East but also around the world, have really taken this principle, and it was existing everywhere, but it really brought it together and changed things. And the project was brought in on time and on budget, which for something so unprecedented was really something. Another project, I lived in Dubai for over 10 years, and I'm now based in Asia, but Masdar city, I think most people are aware of this city. It's 6 kilometres square, inside area. It will be fully realised over the next 20, 25 years. Its ambitions, its vision is extraordinary in so many ways. But it's not only about the city, which has very high environmental credentials, etc., and also really changes the social and human pillars of sustainability. But also the Mazda is an initiative. It has a venture capital fund which has invested in initiatives all over the world. It's the largest wind farm producer in the United Kingdom, solar technologies right throughout Europe and beyond, and so many other things that the venture capital fund has done. It also had the Mazda Institute of Science Technology, and they totally changed the way that education was orientated in relation to sustainability. Not only in the Middle East, which it did very significantly, but also in combination with the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT. They really changed a lot of the way that the higher education approaches sustainability. This is another project also in the Middle East, and this was the Internal Security Forces camp, 4 square kilometres, 385 buildings, a budget of $5 billion US. It was extremely over budget. The military personnel wanted to make it even more operationally effective. They wanted to make it more sustainable if they could. It wasn't a primary, but it certainly was a secondary issue, and they wanted to save money. Through the perspectives of value and sustainability, we actually saved over $1 billion on this whole precinct, over the 385 buildings and the roads and utilities infrastructure. But it was done through the lens of value and sustainability that we saved that money. It was so much more sustainable, it was incredible, and it was so much cheaper. And I'm really trying to myth bust that sustainability costs rather than it is the opportunity and perspective to actually reduce cost. This building just completed in 2022. It doesn't look it, but it's 215 metres tall, so if it was in Bangkok, it would be amongst some of the tallest buildings in the city. It's 2 hotels and high-end residences. The shape of it is the coat of arms for for Qatar, sorry. Just completed. This building, it wasn't initially going to really focus on sustainability. It was more in relation to luxury symbol, the cultural importance of having a building like the Eiffel Tower in Paris and so many other buildings. They wanted to have a building that represented their country, and this is it, just completed. But it is the largest building to have got a 5-star rating, the highest rating in the local environmental rating system in the country, and it's the only hotel that's got that rating. So it did push the boundaries in the region, and it's a phenomenal project. And again, through the perspectives of value, and value here was about the cultural, societal impact of this building. But through that perspective of value and looking at sustainability, we're actually able to control costs, reduce them in some areas, and also deliver an amazing building. And then this is just my final slide. Raffles in Singapore, actually also owned by the Qatari government, and I was involved in this. It was refurbished relatively recently. And of course, the value here was about the cultural heritage of this building. Again, through value and through sustainability, and it was necessary here because it's such an old building. I mean, when this was built in 1868, I think it was, there was less than 200,000 people living in Singapore. And now, of course, there are many, many millions. This is a very, very important cultural building, but also we were able to make this building, and the perspective for the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Qatar, who I was working for, was that they wanted the building, they know that their grandchildren's grandchildren will still own this building. And that really is at the nub of sustainability. So I just wanted to give those perspectives. The world is changing, the world has changed. I think that the forces that I showed on the first slide, the challenges and the opportunities, are really there. And they are probably going to be, and this 2024 are going to be probably the changing points in our careers, the biggest changes that we're going to see. How do we manage the challenges? How do we turn the opportunities into actual outcomes? That's the discussion for today. Welcome to ARIA's Real Estate Summit 2022. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephen, our ARIS chairperson. Now we'd like to show our appreciation to all our ARIS delegates for being here in person by giving away gadgets via a lucky draw. There you go. I need a little of that. Yeah. My lucky fish bowl, or as my mom would say, bowl. Our winner is Adi Wirawan, CPA partner. Are you here? Oh, he's here. So claim your prize next to the stage, I guess. Congratulations, sir. Okay, now he gets a pair of AirPods, by the way. Congratulations to our first lucky draw winner. It gets better, guys. Don't forget to get connected and share your photos and insights about ARIS on Twitter and Facebook, LinkedIn and Instagram. Don't forget to tag us and use #Guru Summit. Now, as mentioned, ARIS is divided into 4 thematic segments. So we'll begin with our first segment that will set the tone for our day-long summit. We call this segment Restart, Rebound. Now, before we hear our first keynote in this segment, let's watch this short message from the UN Habitat. Well, that was a wonderful video, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed that one. That was produced by a well-decorated team. Okay, so now let's welcome the program manager for Cities Investment Facility at UN Habitat. And maybe we'll just replay the video in a bit. All the way from Kenya, Erastus Juki.
The city we need.
现在开始
My city is healthy. I can cycle and eat healthy. We have good healthcare, even for grandpa.
在这个城市我们需要
Maintenant.
我不害怕在夜晚的街道上行走，在大众运输上也感到安全。
The city we need.
Сейчас
We will reach net zero emissions soon. We recycle and support biodiversity. We live differently.
Город, который нужен нам.
Ahora
Женщины имеют равные возможности. Права существуют для всех.
la ciudad que necesitamos.
Maintenant.
Me gusta mi trabajo. Hemos creado nuevas profesiones para nuevos sectores. Todo el mundo debería beneficiarse.
La ville qu'il nous faut.
حاليا.
J'aime ma ville. Elle est très belle. Nous célébrons plein de cultures ensemble.
Participo en el diseño de mi zona. Mi comunidad tiene voz y voto en el presupuesto local cada año.
My mayor says that we are resilient because we are getting ready to face multiple crises.
المدينة المطلوبة.
现在开始
البعض ليس عنده سكن ليعيش فيه آمنا. نحن نغير هذا.
Tous les jours, Nous apprenons et innovons pour améliorer notre ville. Et vous, dans votre ville?
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having me here. So I'm going to take a different approach from the serious faces that you have just seen on the screen, on the video. I'm going to introduce to you something very different that the United Nations has come up with in the last 3 or so years. Okay, it's a cities investment facility. Okay. So, first, let's think, what is the United Nations Human Settlements Program? I was talking to a colleague here from Malaysia, Ashwin, I think. He mentioned to me that he does standards, he does sustainable buildings in Malaysia. And the very, bold, sustainable faces that you saw in the recording here, serious about this thing, would translate into something that you see there that we now have in our mantra in UN Habitat. We think about sustainability. We partner. We share. But there's a question mark about doing. Because United Nations has a lot of conferences, publications, and a lot of written policies, guidelines, standards. But do we walk our talk? So the vision that we had from the executive director who joined UN Habitat 3 years ago, Dato Sri Maimuna Mohammed Sharif, from a city in Malaysia called Penang, was a very bold and, I would say, daring innovation to have the UN walk to be on its rails. So the UN Habitat program now acts after creating policies and guidelines from its beautiful mandate, which is to make cities livable and to change and transform lives of people in cities and in communities. The Cities Investment Facility is an initiative that comes from a clear need for projects that are lying in cities, in those local governments, in those piles in the offices that are never implemented because they do not have financing. So our thinking is, how do we work with business and how do we put private sector partners ahead and shoulder to shoulder with the policymakers, so that whatever we think in the staff rooms and in the boardrooms of the public sector is come to life through collaboration with these private sector entities. How do we unlock private sector capital to benefit the lives of citizens? That is the clear motto and the clear push in the facility. So there is a 3.2 trillion infrastructure investment gap that we have, because there is a mismatch between what is available in the market, which is 3.2 million, and well-prepared projects from the cities. They do not have capacity to develop these projects to be investment ready, to be ready for private sector to come in to invest in them. And we have seen the trends since 2010. And this is data that is proven that the Asian contingent, the Asian continent has had an increase of 7 times from 2010 in private sector investment infrastructure capital. We have to seize that chance. And you can see the global trend. It's 4 times now that we have more capital available for these projects that are being cooked in those kitchens in the cities. So how does the Cities Investment Facility take these projects and pass them over to the investors? Okay, part of you are construction investors, part of you are constructing these roads, bridges, affordable housing units. How do we make, as Peter mentioned to me in the morning, how do we make these units not low cost, but affordable? Okay? So that they are attractive for the private sector. We change, first of all, our whole paradigm of thinking. The UN can no longer wait for the world to change by asking and begging for grants. We have to move from the mindset of dependency and thinking about getting grant funding to make transformative, sustainable, scalable change. If we really want scale, private sector has to be involved. And they have to be not only a partner, but they have to be a lead thinking element in the work of the United Nations. And I'll show you how we do that. We have what you see there, a network of private sector entities that run this facility. And we invite you to look through this. Right at the end, you'll see on how you can be part of it. We start with the investment portal, which is our website, citiesinvestmentfacility.org. It is a portal that matches investors and cities. The projects that come from the cities are available for display for investors to look at. Look at the profiles. But before they get there, they would be prepared by what the second segment we call the Cities Investment Advisory Platform. Okay? So we prepare these projects by infusing to them 2 key ingredients. One is the SDG assessment work that infuses to them sustainability elements that ensures that while we are producing or while we are putting together a project, for instance, for spatial planning, urban space project, a park, for instance, we also have the community around it in mind, using the SDG indicators that we already have, and which is our expertise at UN Habitat. And then we also think of creating a business model to ensure that that linear park will have funding and it will generate revenue so that it does not need grant funding 10 years after it is been established. Okay? And then we have the third segment, which is the investment vehicles, which take these prepared projects to financiers. So this is the technical view of what we do stage by stage. And I'm happy to walk through with you when we have a chance after this session on the detail of what we do. In a nutshell, we originate the projects from the cities, and then we bring them through the advisory platform, doing pre-feasibility studies, feasibility studies. We do the environment social impact assessments. We infuse the ESGs. I know ESG champions are here. And finally, we take them to investors knowing that we have worked with an investor right from the originating stage, and the investors will come in gladly to take those projects because they know that there is a return on those investments. Okay? And this is basically how it looks like now on the sense of how we fund the whole process. So we have the feasibility funding support, which is a feasibility fund where we have, instead of grant funds, we have seed funds from entities such as philanthropies, development banks, and so on. And these entities come in with funds to help the facility start, because we started in 2020. So this seed funding propels the initial work that will survive in the long run and will thrive and survive in the long run through a revolving fund. The projects that we are taking right now are different, and I'll show you some examples in a while. But the idea is that they have to have two key elements. They have to be attractive for the values approach that we use in the United Nations, and they have to be attractive for the private sector. Okay, so they have to have a ticket size that is attractive enough to make a return on those investments. And these are the projects that we have. So we have the distribution globally, of course, mainly in low income and middle income, and a little emerging markets as well. Yeah, because our development and our mandates is beyond only the developing nations. We serve the 193 member states. And that's why you see Africa, Latin America, Western and Central Asia, Asia and the Pacific, all involved in this initiative. I'm going to give you just a brief flavor of the projects that we have. One of the projects that we have, a very promising project that we have right now in India, okay? 20 million ticket size, affordable housing, being developed by our implementing partner Real Limited, which is based in the UK. The other one is Ormoc City Urban Waterscape Project. Okay, you can see here now that we have had now climate resilience infused with, and we have infrastructure and community development in it. Okay, this is in the Philippines, and the other one that we have is a smart city or a smart integrated mobility management system in Malaysia. So all these projects are initiated from the government, but private sector sometimes comes to us and tells us we have government support and we'd like to pitch in a project for your facility, and we welcome them, because the most important thing that we want from this project is impact. Changing the lives of people by unlocking private sector capital that would otherwise not be available for the public. So I will end there, but as I end there, I will share my contacts. You have my contacts on the screen there, and I'm happy to distribute this to Alan and the team here to be able to share with colleagues in this room. I'm happy to have follow-up discussions on this and to attract ideas from what your experiences are. As I said, this is an initiative that is partner-driven. We hear and we listen from private sector in this model that is innovative for the United Nations. Thank you very much. Have a good day today, and we'll keep in touch. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Erastus and UN Habitat. Now, every year at ARIS, we take a look at the macroeconomic situation in the Region 1. This year, we're delighted to welcome on the ARIS stage the Asia Analyst of the Economist Intelligence Unit, Shetarn Hansakul.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, thank you very much to the PropertyGuru team for inviting me to be here and to represent the Economist Intelligence Unit. My job today is to tell you about what lies ahead for the world economy, all the questions that are burning in your mind. When will the war in Ukraine end? Where are interest rates heading? We don't have a crystal ball, but we put our heads together, and I will just go through what we forecast and what are our predictions. Okay, what next for the world economy? First question we must address is the war in Ukraine. Where is it headed? Has sanction worked? Well, sanction has worked. It has really pushed the Russian economy into recession, but it's not working to end the war. What we've seen this year and what we expect to happen next year is even further escalation of the need to pressure the other side. So the more sanctions the US and the Western allies impose on Russia, they react by acting more aggressively. So we are not very hopeful that this conflict will end by coercion. Now, there have been some hints of both sides being open to talk, but it's not very clear. So the prospect is still quite remote. So what else can the West do that will pressure Russia further? They can try to impose a more strict ban on oil import from Russia. They already imposed a price cap on Russian oil imports. They can try to expand the sanctions to include those that are doing business with Russia, and many other things that will actually potentially escalate the conflict. So we are mindful that this security risk is going to be present in next year. So are we heading toward a global recession? Well, 2022 is almost ending, and we don't, it's quite obvious we're not in a global recession. But we are wary that for a few Western European economies, they will see a technical recession, which means that they will have a quarter-to-quarter negative growth 2 quarters in a row in the fourth quarter of this year, this quarter, and into the next quarter, in the first quarter of 2023. And these countries are the UK, France, Germany, and Italy. They're big economies, so it's quite worrying. The risks are even more stacked in 2023. This year, in 2022, our forecast or estimate for global growth is 2.9%. And this is down from 3.9% at the beginning of the year, which means that $1 trillion have evaporated because of the war and other things, not only the war, what happened in China too. So in 2023, we are hopeful, or we think that the world as a whole will not be in recession. It will grow, but it will grow at a much slower pace of 1.5%. And a few regions will actually see, or a few countries will actually see an outright recession. So there are risks around, but not for everyone. The commodities producers are actually having a good year this year, and next year will not be too bad for them, but not as good as this year. But what we see is that the environment that used to be so conducive to global growth before 2018 is now gone. You know, the low interest rates, low inflation, and more cooperative spirit among countries are not going to be around. So this is what we see in 2023. Global growth only 1.5%, and we have a color map. So those in purple and blue are not good news. Purple is actually in the recession territory. But luckily in Asia, we are mostly in green, and then there are some in orange and red, which means we're still growing. So in Asia, the fastest growing economy will be Vietnam, still above 6%. But the rest will be growing between 2 to 4 mostly. But unfortunately, the recession will happen in Europe. We are calling for a shallow recession, about negative 0.3%. And the US will barely grow 0.1%. And you know, the risk of recession is high. So this is comparing 2022, 23, and 24. So you can see that Asia Pacific actually is not doing too badly. It's recovering on cue from the COVID pandemic, and it's going to grow into 2024. So we have, even despite the bad year in 2023, we are going to see a better 2024. So that's what we can hope for. And another region in the world that will be doing well is the sub-Saharan Africa. The rest of the regions are not going to see such even growth. Some are seeing quite a weak 2023 and a slight rebound in 2024. So Asia and Africa will be more of the growth, faster growing regions in the next 2 years. Okay, next question everyone must be asking, what will happen to energy prices? Oh, the good news first. The good news is energy prices will come down next year, but the bad news is it will not come down to the level that we saw before the war in Ukraine. So it will stay high. This year we estimate that oil price will average just above $100 per barrel. Next year will come down to about just below 90, and then in 2024 also further down. But it's still significantly higher than before. And the same pattern for natural gas. What about commodities? Same story. This is for both the hard commodities and soft commodities, unfortunately. And for those of you in construction, for the hard commodities, we see higher upside risk for copper and aluminum. And in the soft commodities, we see a significantly decline for a few key ones. But again, you know, it's still high for compared to the pre-war period. So that's bad news for food security for the developing economies in the world. Okay, next big questions, US interest rates. How high will it go, and then how long will it stay high? So we actually see the peak coming around the first quarter of next year. So we will see the Fed hike again in December coming up, and then more in the first quarter of next year, and then they will pause. And in 2024, it could come down slightly. In the other key central banks, the ECB and the Bank of England will continue to hike a little bit longer than the US, but then again, all of them will peak and start coming down in 2024. So that's where we see the global interest rates going. As for Asia, we've seen the US Fed setting the pace for Asian central banks. But most of the central banks in Asia don't match the pace of interest rate increase in the Fed. So we see that in Asia next year, interest rates will peak as well. But it may stay a little bit longer. The tightening or the rate increase may prolong a little bit more than the US to narrow the gap of interest rate differential. So this is the world outlook, last slide. So how has the coronavirus pandemic and the war in Ukraine changed the world? There are a few areas that happens. Number one, now defense spending is back again, and it's very unfortunate. It's the money that I wish we could give to UN Habitat to build more houses for everyone, but no, countries are actually allocating more money to build weapons. Next, finance will get more complicated, a weaponization of finance. So we will see more efforts of trying to cut off countries like Russia from the global network. And this will not deter Russia, as you know. To a certain extent, China is bearing the brunt of this too. But what this means is that they will employ technology in order to circumvent this. So we will see digital currencies, and they will develop their own ecosystem that connect with the rest. Of course, ESG and sustainability, we've seen debates and controversies surrounding that, but our view is that sustainability is here to stay, and ESG will become increasingly important for the world. It's a mega trend. But of course, the rules and the standards will need to be synchronized and workable for everyone, rather than to have greenwashing and that sort of thing. So there may be a little bit of divergence also for the developed economies which have more money and are more ready to adopt renewables. But in the developing world, the renewable push is actually being deterred by the high energy prices now. So that might be delayed, but it will come back. Even a country like Thailand, during the hosting of APEC last month, they have unveiled their economic model of circular and green BCG. Then they're going to embed into the economic development in the future. Then technology, not to be outdone by finance, the tech bifurcation risk is a real and present danger for everyone. We have the chip wars, U.S. effort to reshore semiconductor production back to the U.S. That we see will stay with us, at least in the foreseeable future. We see the Chip 4 alliance of the U.S. trying to get the Asian economies of Japan, Taiwan, South Korea to try to build a democratic alliance for chip makers. We are not very hopeful how that will go, but what it is that it's just going to create a little bit of friction, and the countries involved are also, at a national level, the governments want to ally with the U.S., but at the company levels, the countries are also in a bind because China is a big market. So it's a difficult situation. Then, last but not least, I touch upon this. Commodities is now back on the mind of everyone. Commodity prices are staying high, and this increases the food insecurity risk. So now, focusing back on Asia, bracing for tough time in 2023. I'm sorry, I'm bringing the not so good news. So the regional summary for Asia in 2023 is that it's from the export boom that we've seen post-pandemic, we're going to see quite a big drop next year. And most countries in Asia will see a slowing GDP growth in 2023 compared to this year. But there are three exceptions, China and Hong Kong, and that's because this year China will grow below 4%, like basically about 3%. But next year, with some relaxation of COVID restrictions, we expect some rebound in private consumption and other things. And Hong Kong will just follow China, lead. But another country that will see a faster growth compared to this year is Thailand. And this is basically due to the fact that Thailand is a country that emerged a little bit more slowly from the COVID pandemic. And the tourism sector is just starting to open up. So we see this story continuing next year. But even then, the overall picture of Asia is that of a slower growth. It's still one of the highest performing area compared to the rest of the world, other regions. Consumer inflation will also stay high, about 3.6%, but this is slowing from above 4% this year. This is an average Asia. And price will be, the inflation problem will vary from country to country. The countries that have deeper fiscal pocket that can actually subsidize price of oil and utilities will actually keep the inflation down superficially, or artificially rather. So that is what we expect will continue in 2023. The government will dig into their pocket and borrow more money in order to help the households and business cope. Yeah. So there's no running away from the fact that the US and the EU, which is going to see a very tough time next year, having an impact on Asia, because the US accounts for about 15% of Asia trade and EU another 10 to 11%. I don't think I can talk about Asia without talking about China. So this is our view on China. Even though we've been quite negative on China, but we think that the growth story in China is slow, but it's not over. They are actually recalibrating. And as all of you know, the rhetoric from the Chinese leadership is that they're going to look at common prosperity. And that's one of the reasons that the technology sector and the property sector have been kind of targeted. And it happened in a year that was unfortunate because there was the war in Ukraine and so on and so forth. So the downturn in the economy has been worse than they have expected. So China will have to figure out how they're going to keep growth going and at the same time stay true to the common prosperity pledge. And there is more challenges into their old model, which is the manufacturing hub for the world. Well, that is now changing because number one, the US is trying to cut them off from the chip supply chain. And then secondly, I think the experience from zero COVID policy in China has made a lot of companies now more hesitant to expand their presence in China because of operational risk. So we've actually seen more investment or relocation of activities from China to ASEAN. And then China also has to think about their security concern. Now they have to diversify their source of key imports like energy, food, and so on and so forth. So, okay, another big question that I have to answer today is when and how will the zero COVID end? So I'm stating the obvious. The protest that we saw erupt in China is definitely pushing them to open up faster. Initially, my China team, my colleagues, put three scenarios: inertia, which is what we've seen in 2022, or chaotic end. There's a very bad outbreak that cannot be suppressed, and agile exit. So now I think we can say that the probability for inertia is actually lower. It will be either chaotic end or agile exit. So the good scenario will be agile exit. But chaotic end is not necessarily bad. It will be a V shape. They will have one very bad quarter. But after that, if the experience of other countries such as India at one point show, the herd community, the herd immunity will help, and then they will emerge stronger. So it's actually either the last two scenarios is better than inertia in terms of GDP growth for China. So what about India? Where do we see India? We actually see India GDP growth, and this is our very long-term forecast into 2050. We see India GDP growth surpassing China all the way between now and 2050. So that's the good news, but that is still not enough for India to catch up with the size of China's economy. So in 2050, you can see that China will still be 3 times the size of India. But both economies combined will be a very strong locomotive for Asian growth. North Asia, in this case, Japan and South Korea, we have a rather cautious outlook for 2023 and over the next few years. And that's basically because they're manufacturers, they have to contend with high commodity prices and subdued global demand. And also they have to worry about the US-China rivalry, which actually affects their business. So not a very strong growth outlook for Japan and South Korea for the next 2 years. What about ASEAN? Okay, ASEAN is a little bit of a happier story. We see growth continuing into next year, more or less uninterrupted, but at a slow, moderated pace compared to this year. So the momentum on slow growth in China will still weigh on ASEAN in terms of trade demand, but at the same time, the investment relocation from China into ASEAN will be positive for ASEAN's medium-term outlook as well. So in ASEAN, we also are mindful that some countries may see the negative impact of the high interest rates in the US that lead to capital outflows and currency weakness. But so far, it has been under control, and we think that this will hold in 2023. So the last slide of the Asian section is which countries in Asia will be more vulnerable if interest rates keep on going higher and stay high longer. So in this case, we look at the level of indebtedness of each economy. So in the developed Asia, the countries that are a little bit more exposed is Australia and South Korea. And in our part of the world, in emerging Asia, the 2 countries that are more exposed to high interest rates are those with the high indebtedness in the household sectors, and that's Malaysia and Thailand. So, this is the last slide. Looking between now and 2050, which Asian economies will emerge and join the G20 club? Indonesia is already there. But in the year 2020, you can see that many Asian economies will be moving up in rank. China and India is already up there. Indonesia and Japan is also among the top 10. South Korea as well. But, we have a newcomer. We think that Vietnam will join the G20 club by the year 2050. And China itself will exceed the US in terms of economic size sometime between 2030 and 2035. So, my last part, what is our view on Asia housing markets? And I'm stressing housing, I'm not talking about commercial. So the view is correction, no crash in 2023. The reason is because when we look in the past cycles, we find that Asian housing markets were surprisingly resilient during the pandemic years. And this is because it's supported by 2 things. Number 1, interest rates were low. Number 2, there were a lot of support or the banking sector supports from the government that actually help to alleviate the debt servicing burden from the borrowers. So that really helped. But now this is being taken away. Interest rates are rising, and all those debt forgiveness or debt holiday is taken back. So actually now we're in a more difficult situation. But we do not think that the correction will be like in the past, that we see a big boom bust, a big crash. And the reason is because a lot of Asian governments or authorities have been very proactive in trying to smooth the cycle. So there was no, big bubbles in some of the economies. Like in Hong Kong, we actually see a correction already, and it's relatively larger than those, than other markets that, the price corrected more than 10% already. And that's because of very high interest rates, and Hong Kong cycle tend to be a little bit more magnified. Now, the other two economies that we see that is looking frothy and probably will see a higher correction risk is Taiwan and South Korea. The price increase in 21 and 22 was very strong, and we think that it cannot continue to be like that indefinitely. But in the good news for ASEAN is that it's been the more stable markets, so we don't see much of correction risks. But the upside will be kind of constrained because of the high interest rates prevailing, and also with GDP growth slowing, income growth is not going to be very high. So the affordability is probably going to be under pressure. But in the long term, we feel that there are some factors that will support the housing markets in Asia. Now, on China, where do we see the property market going? Here again, the good news is that the worst, we probably have seen the worst, but at the same time, the recovery will not come as fast, as smooth, or as swift. In China, already the macro backdrop is not very conducive, and there's a lot of problems with the developers that China will have to help them. Like, China is very good at cleaning up their banking sector. We think that they may apply a similar approach in cleaning up the property sector. So that may lead to a paradigm shift. The days of seeing very big, large, influential private companies are probably not going to be repeated, and we may see more of state-directed kind of companies. I think that is yet to be worked out, but that's our guess of where it's going. So when will things get better? Things will get better, but very slowly and very frustrating. And when they reach the equilibrium again in 2023 or 2024, that equilibrium price will be lower than the pre-correction. So that's where we see China going. Okay, last slide. But despite all that, we are still quite positive that if you're looking beyond the difficult year next year, we have the urbanization trend in Asia that will drive the property sector in both for commercial use and in residential use. We think that there will be some change in terms of the industrialization policy or initiative. So things will look a little bit different now with ESG. So the new, like the reinventing the adaptive theme that you're talking about is going to apply with the new urban planning, with the increased urbanization. They will the theme build back better will prevail. And we think that the policies are going to see more decentralization of city centers. Already in Singapore, you can see that the risk of having everything concentrated in one area is not good if there's another pandemic or whatever risk that pop up. So that theme of being supportive to being sustainable, being decentralized, and digitalization, that's going to be the theme of urban planning for Asia in the next many, many years. That's where I will end. And if you have any questions, just grab me. We can talk about it later. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Ms. Siatarn, for sharing your thoughts from the Economist Intelligence Unit about the region on the cusp of rebounding. Now, that concludes our first segment, and I hope you're all taking in all the important information and insights from our expert speakers. We'll enter into our second segment. It's the Revive/Reboot, where we will talk about the revival of sustainability and green practices, as well as reinforcing the concept of inclusivity and equality in the real estate sector. Now, to kick off the segment, let's welcome on stage the winner of last year's ARIS Tech Innovation Award, the CEO and co-founder of Yoo-Hoo, Dustin Jefferson Ong Hang Seng.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, it is an honor for us to have won the PropertyGuru Tech Innovation Award last year. We're a young company. We started the company back in our dorm rooms during our business school. And the primary reason for us starting that was because I have allergic rhinitis. My co-founder, Brian, he has asthma. And when we were in the dorm rooms and we were inside the business school building, we often had their allergies attack us. And that happened to a number of the other students as well. And when we started talking to the school, telling them that this is happening to a lot of the students, they didn't really do anything about it. They just said that, oh, you students, you're not healthy enough. So that was the immediate reaction of their facilities team, the management of the school. So we took this problem upon ourselves, and we decided that 1 year into the program, we dropped our classes and started building the product. So we started the company, we started building the product, and fast forward to today, we launched our product. And what we do is we're an environmental data platform to help the built environment understand the quality of the environment indoors so that they can improve health and well-being, to decarbonize their buildings, and to enhance their ESG performance. We do this using our patented sensors and our proprietary calibration algorithms and our software. So that's a bit of a mouthful, but essentially what we do is we help you see the air that you breathe. So why is that important? Let's say hi again to the person beside you. Just reintroduce yourself. So we are all in this enclosed room. So imagine this. When you said hi, you talked to the person beside you. Everything is enclosed. You just inhaled the breath of the person beside you. So that's why it's important to understand the quality of the environment that we're in. Because by having this type of data, we would have the capability to prevent pandemics in the future. We would have the capability to properly optimize the heating, the ventilation, and the cooling of the building because we fully understand what people are feeling. So this is really important. So back then when we were back in our dorm rooms, fast forward to today, winning the PropertyGuru Innovation Award actually validated the work that we do and also the value that we provide to the hundreds of buildings and offices where our product is already deployed in. Our belief is that clean air is a fundamental human right. So we also invite you to come join us in our journey, making the world healthier, one breath at a time. Thank you. Oh, and one more thing, we will also have a lucky draw. The winner will get our product for free. Yeah. I'm the one drawing?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Do the honors. I could sure use that today, like right now.
So it's Eugene Lee from Aksi Sepakat, SDN Berhad.
Eugene, are you here?
Yeah.
Eugene, we're gonna mail you the device, but
yeah. we're gonna ship you the product. Yeah.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, Dustin and Yoo-hoo. Yoo-hoo. Yeah. One more time. Yoo-hoo. There you go. Thank you, Dustin. Okay, now prepare to meet our next keynote speaker, who is remotely joining us from Hong Kong. Kim Si Lim, the Regional Director of East Asia and the Pacific at the International Finance Corporation World Bank Group.
Hello, and welcome to the summit. Let me begin with a simple statistic. Asia is home to over 60% of the world's population. This number is expected to rise in the next 30 years as the region continues to witness rapid urbanization, creating an unprecedented demand for housing and commercial property. Rapid urbanization represents major economic and social opportunities, but uncontrolled urban expansion also limits the country and the region's overall growth potential. Carbon emissions and economic growth have always been closely intertwined. So the key question is, how do we decouple economic growth from greenhouse gas emissions? As the private and public sectors strive to meet growing demand for space for an ever-growing population, it is critical we don't lose sight of our collective goal to reduce carbon emissions. Rebuilding economies to be greener and more sustainable will not only chart a pathway towards a fairer, more resilient world, but also will strengthen the economic recovery brought by conflict and geopolitical tensions. The lingering impacts of COVID-19 and the rising global inflation are factors too. As the largest global development organization working with the private sector in emerging markets, the International Finance Corporation, or IFC, aims to promote a green, resilient, and inclusive recovery for all. IFC is uniquely placed to help emerging markets mobilize the necessary private capital to decarbonize their economies and to adapt to a warming planet. We recognize the important role of the private sector in inspiring innovation, improving skills, and unlocking the financing needed to achieve these goals. But it also needs ample capital to do so. IFC is already working with countries to implement a green recovery that can stimulate economies and create jobs, while accelerating the green transition to a cost-efficient way, helping countries rebuild better. As part of the World Bank Group's new climate change action plan, IFC is intensifying its work across sectors and regions. At IFC, we will align 85% of our new direct investments with the objectives of the Paris Alignment starting July 1st, 2023, and 100% of those investments starting July 1st, 2025. From now through our fiscal year 2025, we will seek to increase our climate finance to 35% on average from our own account, up from 30% in the fiscal year 2020, working to create markets and unlock private sector climate investments. One of IFC's focus areas in Asia Pacific is to improve access to climate-smart, sustainable infrastructure services in emerging markets, which will in turn open markets, spur growth, and create jobs. For countries in the Asia Pacific region, we prioritize on two fronts: climate change mitigation and climate change adaptation. Allow me to share a couple of examples of IFC's initiatives in this space, specifically with partners working in the real sector. Through investments in property, we aim to promote the development of affordable housing and essential urban infrastructure, incorporating the latest green building standards and technology. IFC, in partnership with HSBC Global Asset Management, launched Rail Sector Green Investment Opportunity, or the REGIO Fund, in 2018 to finance issuances from rail sector companies, an important new class of borrowers in the green bond market. Regio has mobilized $530 million in private sector capital to finance largely non-financial companies. Just last month, we partnered with Capital Land Escort Trust, serving as a sole subscriber for sustainability-linked bonds in the hospitality sector. The proceeds of the bond will be used to refinance Capital Land's existing borrowings and to further decarbonize 3 of its service residences in Indonesia and Philippines. IFC's innovative new tool and platform, Building Resilience Index, launched in the Philippines in FY22 and soon to be launched in Vietnam, Indonesia, India, and the Pacific Islands, helps building owners and developers assess, manage, and rate the resilience of the real estate assets. This offer complements IFC's EDGE Green Building Certification Program towards decarbonizing real estate assets. EDGE has seen tremendous growth in the region, with developers stepping up decarbonization at the portfolio level while raising ambitions through net zero buildings using EDGE Zero Carbon certification. As you will see, hello and welcome to the summit. Let me begin with a simple statistic. Asia is home to over 60% of the world's population. This number is expected to rise in the next 30 years as the region continues to witness rapid urbanization, creating an unprecedented demand for housing and commercial property. Rapid urbanization represents major economic and social opportunities, but uncontrolled urban expansion also limits the country and the region's overall growth potential. Carbon emissions and economic growth have always been closely intertwined. So the key question is, how do we decouple economic growth from greenhouse gas emissions? As the private and public sectors strive to meet growing demand for space for an ever-growing population, it is critical we don't lose sight of our collective goal to reduce carbon emissions. Rebuilding economies to be greener and more sustainable will not only chart a pathway towards a fairer, more resilient world, but also will strengthen the economic recovery brought by conflict and geopolitical tensions. The lingering impacts of COVID-19.
Thank you, IFC. Now, I'm sure you guys didn't notice that. Before I introduce the next speaker, let's watch this special preview of the documentary film, Theory of Light.
People talk about climate change, but in my country, we are being hit here and now. It's not like we have a lot of time.
We in the Philippines are in the front lines of a lot of climate change issues.
Hindi natin may tatanggi na nandun tayo sa typhoon pan. Pag dumating yung disaster, sinong tatamaan? Yung nakatira sa barong-barong.
Floating plastic blocked the drainage, raised the water. This is exactly what caused the floods. How do we take that something that is one of the largest problems, and how do you make it into something that solves things? And I told them, just wait for a while and we will come up with something that you've never seen before.
Noong Disyembre, sa tulong ng proyektong Liter of Light, ay nabigyan ng libreng solar light bulbs ang mga lugar na sinalanta ng bagyong Yolanda.
These people, they do things with everyday items with this kind of simple idea.
It's a bottle full of water. The light would be able to enter through the bottle and lights up a 35 square meter house.
The user should be the front and center of the design process. Sila yung gagamit eh.
Dati kami nasa madilim dahil gasera nga lang ginagamit namin. Bibili pa kami ng gas.
Everything is first world model, but what would a development world model look like?
We have the opportunity to test technologies, and we're doing that. Climate change cannot be small time. We have to think ambitious.
Let's think of it bigger. Can it be possible in every city in the Philippines? And can this be something that can be happening everywhere in the world?
We're going to hear from our official charity partner about making technology accessible for homes in the Philippines, Brazil, Senegal, Mexico, Colombia, and so many other places that need it. And a few years ago when I had him, it was just an idea. It's actually happening, and I couldn't be any prouder for my fellow Filipino. Please welcome the founder of Leader of Light, Ilac Diaz.
Thank you very much for this invite. Actually, that movie is celebrating 10 years. When I started out, I had somebody say that, Filipinos, they put us in a picture, dirty with mosquitoes. And I said, that's not the Philippines that I know. I go all around. And he said, yes, but it makes fundraising more difficult to show a happy, healthy person. This was, before this kind of protocols, right? But it's changed. But I said, you know what? I'm going to create a nonprofit that will change the world from the Philippines. And I was, it was from there that 10 years ago, I started Litter of Light. And somebody said also that, we could never make a film that could show change from Asia, climate change from Asia, that, we were kind of victims. And so I said, no, you know what? I'm going to make a film about Asians changing the world, because it's about time that we stop being the beneficiary and start being the benefactor. So I'll tell you more about this in a while. Oh, so sorry. So around the world, 1 billion people don't have light. And it exacerbates it when there's this kind of superstorms. So Litter of Light is actually a social enterprise. We did a habitat model where we get corporates, volunteers to purchase the material and give us 30 minutes of their time to build solar lights. And this was because when typhoons hit us, it took 5 months for the lights to actually arrive. But nobody was teaching us that we actually had all the parts there. So we had SunPower, which was one of the largest producers of solar cells in the country. We had LEDs from motorcycles. We had radio parts. And all of this could provide solar lights for the next 5 years, except that it was not, it was not being taught to us. And so what I did was during this storm, I activated about more than 100 companies and said, if you give me your, of course, if you purchase these parts and you give me 30 minutes of your time, we will be able to light up the refugee camps. And of course, a lot of them did not understand. They said, no, we have to get them from China and India. And I said, no, it will take 5 months, plus almost 30% of my cost is just in logistics. But if you build it by hand, we can deliver them next week. And so Litter of Light actually began during that time. Each light, of course, we replace a kerosene lamp with a solar light. Each kerosene lamp every year burns, of course, kerosene. And of course, when we replace it for the next 5 years, they will have 10 hours of light. Sorry, how do I play this? I'm terrible. After the Zoom era, can we just play? Is this playable? Okay. Anyway, what began as a dream and a challenge to come up with an idea from Asia that will change the world, where local communities, instead of importing patented expensive solar lights, has now gone to 32 countries. We affect about 1 million people a year. We don't have a single factory. We produce all the lights in villages. What we do is we get the corporates to build the solar lights, and then we add 25% over that, and then we give the lights for free in villages where they're now able to rent it out. Everything is fixable. The way we maintain more this kind of operations is everything is controlled by women cooperatives. They provide all the street lights in the village, collecting fees from each house, mobile charging systems, and streetlights. I just want to show you what it looks like, so it's a bit easier. So the theory really is, if you cannot fix it with a screwdriver, then it's a technology that cannot be repaired, cannot be maintained. So, sorry. So very simple. We have radio parts. We have batteries from vaping machines or chargers, LEDs from motorcycles, and we're known as Liter of Light because we use plastic bottles as our lens. So what happens there is they're able to maintain it, and their husbands, when they go to bring products to the city, they can buy all of these parts. So for more than the 650 women cooperatives all around the world, they can maintain. But what we found out is once you give them the technology without patent, they can replicate. So sometimes we give 100, 200 lights from the corporates, and we come back, there's 1,000, 2,000 lights that they build it themselves. So we found out that it's better to put the scalable technology in human hands, thousands of human hands, than donations. If we can play it, I'm hoping to learn how to do this. Okay, I don't know how to play it. So I wanted to talk to you about our work. Why are we here in PropertyGuru? Well, during COVID, the foundation that was helping more than 1 million people a year, affecting people every year, almost crashed because corporates did not allow us into their office. And so what we did was, I was watching this film called Pay It Forward, where somebody does good, and instead of paying him back, the other person does good towards other people. So stuck in my home, basically we had this, thousands of parts. We started sending them in a bag to my relatives. And I said, hey, can you give me 30 minutes of your time, build it, and then we will donate it. The reason for this is tourists stopped coming to the villages. And many of the tourism villages survived with tourist money buying kerosene so that they can keep their villages lit. And suddenly the tourists were gone. So I wanted to stop it, but many of the villages started asking me for more lights. So we came up with this thing called Light It Forward. And what happened is we challenged people, like an ice bucket challenge. One person builds the light in 30 minutes, then puts it on internet, puts it on online, and then challenges somebody else. And what happened was amazing. We grew from 1 to 5,000 people every month building solar lights from inside their home. Corporates, schools, they were stuck inside their house. And it became actually very viral. And instead of clanging pots or, shouting on the roofs, in Europe, we said, why don't we use property that was not being used, national parks, large-scale roads that were not being used, and make them into the largest human billboards in the world. So we started making artworks with the thousands of lights before donating it to the villages. It was beautiful because people from around the city, all the kids, all the students trapped in their homes were now doing each light, and each light would of course be an artwork, but each pixel of light there would later light up a family's life for the next 5 years. So despite having the worst COVID, we made some of the largest impact in the world. Later on, they asked us to make the largest tweet in the world. So some of them said, we can't gather, but we can make messages to inspire other people. So we started taking national parks, monuments, and started making these tweets to inspire young people. What's interesting is Europe started calling us and say, hey, we're also stuck here. Can you also get our young people? So this is 500 young people making the lights. And then, of course, we would set them up. They wouldn't go there, but we set it up. So we started making this largest tweet. Is there no way to play it? Sorry, I really don't know how to do it from here. Is there any way to play the thing? It's my second one, but... No? Cannot play. Okay. I just wanted to show you our recent work. So in Africa, we make the lights out of pottery. And what happens is we employ a lot of women that lost their jobs because plastic replaced pottery. And so we make them out of, all of it is hand-built. But we teach them to make the same circuits inside the pottery. And what's nice there is I got 2,000 students to be able to make the circuits. And I just actually came from there. This is the pyramids of Giza. And each light is built by a student. And each student had a message for the world leaders about the world they want to live in. And of course, the nice thing about these things are automatically at night they would light up. So we made the largest artwork in all of Africa, but all built by human hands. We really want the power of sustainability to be with people that need it the most, not something that is imported, patented, and expensive. And what happens is they actually break down. They actually break down in about a year and a half. So sometimes you see donors donate, 1 million lights, but they never tell you that in a year and a half or 2 years, it's built with microcircuits, no way for the villagers to fix, so they have to throw it away and then go into debt to borrow it again. So as we move to sustainability, it has to also be sustainable technology. If it cannot, as I said, cannot be repaired by a single screwdriver, then it is not sustainable. In fact, if it's not replicable and scalable without you, the purest form of sustainability is if you make yourself obsolete. And so I wanted to show you our next project. So this is something that I consulted for. I wanted to make the largest artwork in the world. Of course, I built them first with cars. I put stickers on the top of the cars. And then when I'm from MIT, and in MIT, the urban planning is right next to the Aero Astro. And so a lot of my friends would be in the NASA division, and now they're in NASA. So when the International Space Station flew above the artwork, they took pictures of it. And so this is the largest artwork in the world. But for climate change conference in UAE, I'm going to build something 3 times bigger and then have it photographed by the space station again. But what's nice about our artwork is all of the lights are later donated. So they're not just for show. They actually work. They're actually built by hand. So it's as I said, it's human powered, and they actually make a big difference. So the film is about that, starting from the Philippines in one of the darkest moments, and later on having a staff of 212 in 32 countries. Of course, they never told me that to change the world, it would be so difficult. They always say, change the world, change the world. They actually never told me about cultures, languages, people management. But today, from the Philippines, with technology that can be replicated, it has affected so many people. So thank you very much for PropertyGuru for allowing me to speak here. I'm sorry we didn't show, I don't know if you can still show some of the videos, even one video on the USB. But it's really inspiring as we made some of the largest artworks in urban areas around Asia during COVID, because everybody was not using them. But thank you. We have 1 hour and nothing, not even one video. Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Great seeing you, Ilak. Once again, thank you so much. And that documentary film looks very exciting, and the message hopefully will certainly resonate around the world. Now, remember, everyone can get connected and share their takeaways from this year's summit via Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Do not forget to use the hashtag Guru Summit. Again, children, what is our hashtag today? Very good. Okay, so Here we go. Please welcome our first panel discussion of the day to talk about the property right of the members of the LGBTQI plus community. I think they're ready. Okay, let me introduce to you our fabulous moderator and mother of reinvention, Pangina Heels, artist and television host of Drag Race Thailand, and our equally fabulous panel speakers, Ramil Andag, Sojist Rights Officer, APCOM Foundation from the Philippines and Thailand. We have Nick Myers, founder and CEO Red Fox AI from Wisconsin, USA. Oh, he loves being here right now because it's a lot warmer. And we have William Tan, a real estate advisor, co-founder of Prudent, House of Pride from Singapore. Hello.
I love your pants. They're so cute. It's vintage. Oh, good morning, everybody. How's everyone doing today? 2 replies in the front. Thank you. We're going to start with my lovely panelists today, and we're going to talk about, the brief situation on the LGBTQI plus community broadly first. So I'm going to go to Willem first. Can you tell us a little bit after the abolishment of the law that criminalizes gay men from having sex between men and the amendment to Constitution to reinforce the definition of marriage between a man and a woman and how that affects housing rights and other real estate opportunities?
Okay, hi everyone. My name is William. I just want to have a show of any Singaporeans over here.
One to the corner over there.
Okay, I see just maybe like a handful of them. Okay, so just to give everyone a little background of the knowledge of what's happening. Basically, just slightly less than 2 weeks ago, our Singapore Parliament actually abolished a very long and old outdated law called the 377A. So what the 377A really does is that it actually criminalizes sex between 2 men, even though it's consensus as well. So it took us a very long time, more than 15 years of campaigning and trying to get this out. Obviously, we are faced by a lot of obstacles from the right-wing conservation people. But finally, I think the government realized that it has come of time. The society has changed, attitudes has changed towards LGBT, and obviously with a lot of community groups coming on to be more vocal about fighting, it has really helped us to push this forward. So there you have it. 2 weeks ago, 377A is out of the books. We are no longer criminal. I'm a gay man myself. My pronoun is he and him, and I'm finally able to, live as a non-criminal in Singapore.
Congratulations. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And also, within the same scope, Nick, can you please address the political climate in the U.S. since the election of Donald Trump?
Yes, I'd be more than happy to. So, hi everybody, Nick Myers here. Really excited. I love this event. It's great to be here again. But to address currently the state of the LGBTQ plus community in the United States, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is a very, very scary time to be a part of this community in the United States. Now, don't get me wrong. Things have improved significantly with the election of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. However, in light of the election of Donald Trump back in 2016, the rhetoric surrounding the LGBTQ plus community has been very bad, and it has only increased, not in a good way. And as a matter of fact, some recent statistics here, right? So let me go through my notes. By March of 2022, so this year, right, there have been more than 240 anti-LGBTQ plus bills introduced across the United States, and this is in state legislatures. At the same time, in 2018, there was less than 50, so that's a 380% increase. And at the same time, there's been a 24% increase in online hate rhetoric between last year at this time as well. So it's not a great climate. And of course, if you may have been following any news, right, just a few weeks ago in Colorado Springs, we unfortunately had a mass shooting targeted at an LGBTQ plus nightclub that killed 5 people. due to a lot of this far-right extremism and radicalization that's happening in the U.S. So, of course, with the bad, there is always a lot of good, right? There has been an executive order issued by the Biden-Harris administration supporting LGBTQ plus people, of course, from the housing standpoint, which we'll get into in a bit. But I'm going to be honest and say that I wish things were better in the United States, and a lot of it has to do with, of course, the election of the former U.S. president and, of course, the far-right extremism groups that have only become more vocal since that.
Thank you. And Ramil, can you please, because I know that you are between the Philippines and Thailand sometimes, so can you please share your...
Yeah, Ramil Andag, Sochi Rights Officer at APCOM. We're a regional organization working on LGBTQI health and rights. The main work that we do on LGBTQI and sexual orientation, gender identities, expressions, and sex characteristics is social and economic inclusion. One of the platforms we do that is work with private sector for inclusion. And this is a very good platform to speak with you on that. Literature and experience would tell us that there's still discrimination based on a person's sexual orientation, gender identity, sex characteristics, and expressions. And these experiences of discrimination are on various aspects. Access to basic rights, health, housing, education, and also in terms of policies. There have been some good developments in the region, like decriminalization in countries. But there are also countries, there are a lot of countries which do not protect in terms of policies and does not recognize not being mainstream. So there's that SOGS-based discrimination still being experienced, and it affects the lives of a lot of people in terms of, are we being included? When we're talking of sustainability, are we there?
All right, I'm going to dive into the first question. And do you believe that the members of the LGBTQ plus community, especially couples, are treated fairly when it comes to property or housing rights?
I think in Singapore, I'm speaking on behalf of Singapore, definitely we are not being treated fairly. Even though I just mentioned that we have abolished a very important law that criminalizes us. At the same time, there was also another move in conjunction with this abolishment to actually make it a little bit harder for us LGBTQ groups to contest for equal sex marriage in the future via the law, right? So the government basically said that in the future, if there's any contest or any change in the law, it will have to be passed down from the parliament. So it means that we can't take a legal court challenge to try and strike down definition of same-sex marriage. And in Singapore, obviously, the housing policy, right? 80% of Singaporeans actually live in HDB flat, right? Basic public housing. And what happened is that the housing policy itself revolves around a lot around the idea of family units. And by family units, it's very, very strict in terms of how it's defined. Okay, so a same-sex couple will not be considered a typical family unit, right? You can't really, there's nothing really in the books to say that, you know, you're LGBT person, you can buy public housing, all right? That said, we do have one contingency, right? We kind of find our ways around it. There is a scheme that is provided for single people, all right? You can actually buy private, not public housing from the government, but there is this rule that you can only buy after 35 years old. Whereas a normal heterosexual couple, you know, you can already, once you're above 21, you know, you form a family unit, you can buy a flat. So this restriction to allow single people to only buy after 35 years old is actually a very big disadvantage for people. Those of you who buy property, you know that property is about entering and buying as young as you have, right? The older you get into the property market, the ability for you to get loans, the length of tenure is going to be lesser. It's going to be harder for you to accumulate asset that way. So in that way, I think it's really challenging for the LGBT community that, you know, such a law is there to allow us only to buy a public housing when we're 35. So that's one of the biggest issue. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Willem. What about you, Nick? Any thoughts about this issue in the U.S.?
Absolutely. Of course, I recently, as of last year, applied and got accepted for my first mortgage. Prior to that, was a renter. And specifically, knowing how the climate is in the U.S. around the LGBTQ plus community right now, myself being a gay man, I deliberately left that out of any conversation I had during a loan application or when I was applying to rent, because there is discrimination that happens. And it is a very sad problem that it's that way, but again, that's the current climate, right? But with that being said, there are a lot of positive developments, as I mentioned prior, that are currently happening. Specifically, in June of last year, the Biden-Harris administration issued an executive order called the Equality for Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, Queer, and Intersex Individuals Executive Order. And there actually are a lot of very positive provisions in this, if I can switch to my notes here. The primary one being that it established a housing and urban development working group that will lend an initiative to prevent and address LGBTQ plus housing and homelessness. And it's a sad fact that, of course, people who are part of this community experience homelessness on a very significant level, even more so if you're a transgender in the U.S., that's 40% higher. So this executive order hopes to address some of that by establishing some of these working groups. Another provision of that is providing technical assistance to housing and urban development contractors to help respectively serve this community, because that lacks right now in a lot of areas. And even more importantly, right, it begins to allocate some funding for mental health, suicide prevention, child welfare, etc. So even though the climate is particularly bad right now, there are things that are happening that are making this, trying to alleviate this problem facing the community from a housing standpoint, which is great to see, but we still have a lot of work to do.
All right. And I think you touched base a little bit on this in your personal experience, positive or negative, when it comes to renting and acquiring and investing properties in Southeast Asia and different parts of the world. How is it for you?
I guess I would look at it from a perspective of how are our programs and standards framed. The programs and standards generally are framed from a binary perspective. It's cisgender male, cisgender female, and including the standards, for example, which we impose on how can we acquire properties. How can we acquire properties as partners? And perhaps for renters, that might be the experience. For single renters, that might not be the experience. But for acquiring property, how do you call it? Shared properties? Because our standards and policies are still binary. So that kind of limits that.
All right. And I'm going to come back to you, Willem. How difficult or easy for buyers to get housing or mortgage loans approved if the applicant is from the LGBTQI plus community?
Okay. I think, to be honest, being an LGBT community member doesn't really hinder you from getting a bank loan. All right. What hinders us is what I mentioned earlier on. For example, having a law that says you can only buy a property after 35 years old. Okay, and by that, because you're entering at 35 years old, at least in Singapore, the way the banks or even the government assess whether they give you a loan is based on a TDSR, a loan servicing ratio. Right, it's based on your income that you provide and your age group. So the older you get into that application status, it's going to be harder because the amount of, let's say if you want to buy a property, all right, compared to another heterosexual couple, all right, you try and buy a property, when you're older, the resulting mortgage installment you're going to pay is going to be significantly higher than when you get it when you're earlier, because you have to pay it off over a shorter period of time. So that actually will make it a little bit harder for us in the LGBT community to have a wide variety of options to buy, right? Especially also in the case of couples, right? If you're buying a property as a single individual, you just have a single income. The choices of properties are quite limited. But if you're able to buy as a couple, a heterosexual couple, you have dual income. And in Singapore, property are not cheap at all, right? So you really need to have a dual income to get a decent sized kind of a property in Singapore itself. Buying a property, you could potentially buy a property as gay couple, LGBT couple, but there are also legal challenges or things that you need to be very careful about. And I do a lot of like consultation with my clients in the sense that if you buy a property as a two unmarried couple, all right, issues will happen, for example, in case of a dispute in the future. How do you split the money? How do you split the share of the money? Also, maybe in cases of maybe a death of an individual or maybe a couple got into a coma and situation, what happens to that? So those are little details that we need to take care of when we are working with LGBT.
And just staying with you for a little bit, why did you establish Prident? Is it Prident? Yeah, Prident. And the House of Pride. And how has it openly promoted diversity and inclusion in the property industry?
Right. So before I started, so basically Prident and House of Pride are two initiatives that I created. I founded to create a better space and platform for dissemination of information regarding buying housing and financial planning for LGBT in Singapore. Because before I did this, and personally myself, when I first bought my first property, there is no information in the market to help me. I kind of have to read through the government brochures and stuff like that to figure out how to buy a property. And I make mistakes, and I don't dare to ask my agent because, you know, I'm not sure how he will actually look at me. So during the COVID period, the lockdown period, you know, I started to put a lot of my thoughts, a lot of my ideas into writings, and I started sharing it on social media. And it soon got a lot of people interested, and they started contacting me. So that's where I started thinking about forming a proper resource platform, and also a division right now within my agency to promote diversity and inclusiveness, so that there is more opportunity for LGBT couples or singles who want to buy property to speak to LGBT-friendly real estate advisors. Yeah.
Nice. I mean, listening to you, I need to come and have a private conversation because
Sure.
I've been saving up some money. And it's very informative. I think it's great to hear from all three of you. But I'm going to jump over to you, Ramil. With your knowledge and experience with APCOM, fighting for the rights of LGBTQI+ community, what is happening now with the SOGI equality bill in the Philippines and how it can impact real estate investments?
When I was in the Philippines, I've been part of the movement and the advocacy for the SOGI equality bill. It has been in our Congress and Senate for the past 22 years. But on a more positive note, I think the committee report for the second reading at the Senate has been approved, so it kind of accelerates the discussions in Senate. I would argue that any law or any policy that would kind of recognize that there is discrimination and bat for equality and inclusion is a very good business sense. It's not only a human rights argument.
Right.
It opens markets. It protects people. It includes those who are experiencing marginalization. So I guess how does it impact the market? I guess if we really are talking of an inclusive market, are we really looking at programs, services, which does not leave anyone behind, especially those who are experiencing marginalization and discrimination?
Okay. And jumping over to you, Nick. Real estate apps are increasingly important, especially coming out of the 2-year pandemic. Why do you think app developers should consider inclusivity and diversity when developing such apps?
No, that's a great question. And, of course, apps are one thing, but you look at the grand scope of technology in 2022 heading into 2023, right? And technology, emerging and innovative technology, really has the power to make access to housing and property and really most things more equitable for people in the LGBTQI+ community. One of the big things I would say, especially if you're running a technology that leverages any type of machine learning or deep learning technology, We need a lot of data to train these systems, and unfortunately, a lot of that data is biased, and it can be very biased against people in this community. So at all costs, please try and make sure that the data you used is not biased towards people in the LGBTQ plus community. It may be a tall order to fill, but it is possible. Make sure that if you're an app developer or a technology provider, you review your LGBTQI plus policies. You may think you have a policy, but you probably don't. So definitely review your policy to make sure those provisions are in there. Make sure to appoint allies within your organization who understand this community so you can serve them properly. And even more so, if you're running an app that is customer-facing or a technology that's customer-facing, talk to your customers who are in the LGBTQI plus community, because that's the only way you're really going to get their feedback so you can make sure that your technology is equitable and accessible.
And staying with you, the U.S. market is very diverse and competitive, and there are a lot of pride-related activities and LGBTQI organizations, but why do you think there's still a lot of blatant discrimination in the community?
Great question. I think it really comes down to something very simple. People fear things that they do not understand. If you don't understand something, you will fear it. In the United States right now, we unfortunately have a larger than I would like to admit group of people who simply do not understand people who are in this community, and that is channeled into anger and rage and far-right extremism that, quite frankly, is not acceptable. And I do firmly believe that at some point this will get better, but I will make this statement and say there is no place, no matter who you are or where you are around the world, for hate speech against this community. Everybody deserves to be treated with respect. And I really hope we'll make progress with that in mind.
Amen. Mm-hmm. And having traveled the world, and this is an open question, what are your positive takeaways, from the LGBTQI plus community and how they're treated by property managers, hospitality staff, co-op boards, business partners, etc., and what changes or improvements need to be made?
I have to say, out of everywhere I've traveled so far, and it's been quite a few places, Asia is the best. And this is why Bangkok is one of my favorite cities, and I love traveling to Asia, because when it comes to supporting this community, I really see some of the most progressive and positive things here. But of course, no matter where I go, right, if you are known to be a part of this community, I think one thing that hospitality managers and people in the industry can do better, again, talk to people in the community so you know as you run your property, as you run your hotel, whatever it may be, you are accommodating these folks, especially, and I will speak to our transgender folks, because they deserve to be supported just like everybody else, and they have a unique set of circumstances that if we just learned a bit more about, can be better supported in the property industry for sure.
I guess for me, it's not really asking for special things. It's asking that people be treated equally regardless. And there are lots of bases for being used for people not to be treated equally. And that one of that is being LGBTQI. But I guess this is also a very good platform for us to start the discussions and engagements. Right. How do we really become more inclusive? How are we engaging the LGBTQI community in our steps towards being more inclusive? When we are imagining a building back better future, are we also building back inclusively? Are we really leaving no one behind? And I guess hopefully this will also resonate when we do programs, services for LGBT, which are designed specifically for LGBTQI communities. We should be guided by the principles of, are we doing no harm? And are we doing it? Are we meaningfully engaging with the LGBTQI community because the expertise would lie with the community? Thank you very much.
Thank you. What about you?
And I think maybe from the organization standpoint, it is important that companies, big and small, need to be brave to stand up to embrace their own diversity and inclusion program. Because a lot of times, some companies might fear getting into this. They might actually want to support, but they worry that if they do this, they might get a negative response from the other groups. So there are a couple of times where in Singapore there are some very proactive LGBT hotels. They actually run a campaign on social media. And what happens is that, right after that, there was actually a lot of people writing on the Instagram saying that, they didn't approve of that. But the good thing is, at the same time, we see a lot of people creating very positive feedback to us that they're really brave for doing that. So I think organizations kind of need to balance and decide where they want to stand and stay firmly on that ground. And I think for myself, coming from a real estate company itself, I'm very happy that my management was very supportive when I told them that I wanted to start a division within my agency to just focus on diversity and inclusion. I said, is this an issue with the company? Because House of Pride is going to be the platform or a safe space for LGBT real estate agents and customers as well to work with me on their real estate needs. And they're totally supportive of it. Yeah.
I think just to add on to that, I think Pride Month, everyone just throws a rainbow on every single thing. Can we just do that, not just June? I mean, you can book me besides June. I'm still here. And I feel like it's even better when you see the support outside that special month, But today has been insanely informative, and I thank the three panelists so much because I see this timer in front of me. It's blinking like crazy already, saying time's up. But can you please give it up to the three panelists today? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Maraming salamat.
Thank you so much. Dear panelists, now as they're clearing the stage, can we take a selfie before we go? I just need 30 seconds to kill time so they can clear the stage. And keep fighting for inclusivity and equality. Yeah, rainbow everywhere. I like that. Now, before that even became a symbol, I already had rainbows in my bedroom. Okay. Now, as you know, this week is Property Guru Week, and today is Property Guru's Foundation Day. It is my honor to present to you on stage Property Guru Group CEO and Managing Director Harry V. Krishna.
Well, good morning, everyone. I hope everyone's been enjoying the diversity of content, pun slightly intended based on the last panel. But you've really understood the magnitude of the opportunity that lies ahead of us, potentially some of the challenges that are coming to us in the next year or so. But right now I wanted to shift gear a little bit, talk a little bit about where we're headed as a company. So, ladies and gentlemen, our partners, members of the media who have joined us now, and our gurus in the room, as well as those of you watching us live from the 6 markets in which we operate, a very warm welcome again to the 8th Property Guru Asia Real Estate Summit. And again, I'll say, all of us who are in the room here, we're really enjoying being back in person after the pandemic, meeting each other, rekindling some old friendships, making new ones, and sort of building for the future. Today, as has been mentioned a couple of times, is a very special day for Property Guru. 15 years ago today, on December the 8th, 2007, we started our journey in Singapore. Jeremy mentioned this at the top. On our foundation day, I just wanted to spend a moment with you to share what we have achieved as a group. Today, we are a Southeast Asian PropTech leader, guiding millions of people to their dream homes while creating value for our developer and agent partners. Some of you are in the room today, and I thank you for that. We are a purpose-driven company with a strong team of over 1,800 gurus from over 30 nationalities. We believe that every person deserves a place to call home, and we have worked tirelessly to create solutions, many of them first in the real estate industry, that every day drive us towards our purpose. As a company that has scaled from being a Singapore startup to a Southeast Asian technology business that is listed on the New York Stock Exchange, what we find most exciting is that the best is yet to come. Today, I would like to take this moment to congratulate and thank all our gurus for their hard work, commitment, and what we have achieved together. Thank you, gurus. I want to thank all our valued customers for your partnership and in solving together for the property ecosystem here in Southeast Asia. Today, at the PropertyGuru Asia Real Estate Summit, we focus on adaptive reinvention. I realize how the theme perfectly explains the essence of PropertyGuru itself. As we have grown over the last 15 years, we have evolved and transformed ourselves at important junctures in our journey. Internally, we gurus call the current phase or the current stage we're in as PG3, our third phase of evolution. PG3 is about driving high-quality solutions, focused investment, and sustainable growth to create and foster trust in the property industry. I'll say that again. We are trying to create and foster trust in the property industry. Our ambition is to be the property trust platform for Southeast Asia. To do so, we will enable transparency of information using our innovative marketplaces, but also efficiency using workflow automation software, financing solutions, and data-powered insights. Southeast Asia is one of the fastest growing economies in the world, as we heard earlier, with a real estate market that is starting to recover well post the pandemic. We're just beginning to scratch the surface of a multi-billion-dollar addressable market and opportunity in this region. As Southeast Asia's property market continues to expand, driven by long-term fundamentals of urbanization, digitalization, and a rising middle class, we are excited about the momentum we have built and the prospects for the years ahead. As the region's market leader, we are acting upon our responsibility to help people in the property industry make more confident decisions. Recently, we announced our brand repositioning with guidance at its core. We want to be right there at every step of the property journey, providing guidance in a market that is filled with complexity and anxiety. Now, how do we really bring this ambition to life? We are introducing data solutions that bring transparency. We are using our innovations in technology to deliver workflow automation, efficiency, and digitizing property buying and selling as we guide our stakeholders on their property journey. As we move beyond property search and offer more end-to-end solutions that solve for the entire property buying and selling journey, we will continue to deepen our investments in home finance, data, operating systems, and more, enabling every stakeholder with the right information and tools to make high-stakes decisions confidently. With this, I have great pleasure in bringing to you our latest, exclusively enterprise-facing brand, PropertyGuru for Business. PropertyGuru for Business brings together a comprehensive suite of enterprise solutions to support real estate businesses and public sector stakeholders with enhanced data software, analytic tools, and insights. PropertyGuru for Business unifies our B2B offerings and is designed to guide enterprise clients such as property developers, agencies, banks, valuers, and policy and city planners. My colleagues Shinyi and Jeremy will soon take you through what PropertyGuru for Business offers and give you some insights into our latest suite of solutions. I would like to leave you with the thought that PropertyGuru for Business is more than a new brand. It is a statement of our intent. Our promise is that we intend to solve for many hurdles that your businesses face and to grow together with you. I'm excited for the opportunity to partner even more closely with all of you, our enterprise customers, and build a technology-enabled property sector right here in Southeast Asia. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you PropertyGuru for Business.
The real estate industry never stops evolving. Ever-growing communities demand future-proof developments, sustainable execution and innovation at unprecedented levels. But these opportunities come with risks. Which investments are the smartest? Where will the market go next? What effective solutions can I go to market with? To help shine a light on these challenges, you need a reliable partner. Introducing PropertyGuru for Business. We help you make confident decisions for the future. We harness the power of data, technology and people to help you reach your goals through our proprietary solutions and services. Designed for industry partners, PropertyGuru for Business opens a world of new possibilities. Our market insights and intelligence have been refined over the past decade so you can validate your decisions with confidence. With our intelligent software solutions, you can deliver a unique customer experience. And with our integrated marketing solutions, you can maximize your brand exposure. In an increasingly challenging world of real estate, make confident business decisions with our suite of solutions. Meet PropertyGuru for Business.
That's not an easy section to follow, but thank you. Look, we've been partnering with you and serving our developer clients for over a decade now, and together we've achieved a lot. But we've also realised there's a huge amount of scope for us to add more value to our developers and their business. As Harry's mentioned earlier, our ambition is to build Southeast Asia's property trust platform, a platform that guides people to make confident property decisions and contributes to the communities of tomorrow. To achieve this ambition, PropertyGuru has continued to invest in data and technology to improve our customers' experience, increase transparency, and offer innovative solutions that address customer pain points.
And since its founding, PropertyGuru has grown from strength to strength, expanding beyond the marketplace operations, which we've often been very well relied upon. And we have invested significantly in data and technology capabilities to really catalyze the digital transformation of the property sector. And all our partners here with us, thank you very much for being part of this journey. And you also may have heard, we recently acquired a company called SendHelper, which is a Singapore-based technology company focusing on home services, with the aim to be able to offer reliable and easy access to home management and home maintenance services, thus allowing our property seekers to not just find and finance their homes, but also own and manage their dream homes. And this acquisition is in line with the group's growth strategy to expand into adjacencies in fintech and data, and while we continuously to invest heavily in our core marketplace business towards creating a digital property ecosystem for all our stakeholders within real estate. Today, we are very excited to launch our brand, PropertyGuru for Business, which represents all our enterprise-facing offerings. And you see from anything from marketing solutions to also data platforms and as well as workflow solutions to provide and guide our enterprise customers from banks, valuers, developers, public sector, as well as agencies in making more confident decisions in a more timely manner.
So we are very well positioned at PropertyGuru Group at the dynamic intersection of consumer and market data, technology, and the broad macroeconomic trends that will drive real estate as an asset class in Southeast Asia. And we're well positioned to partner with you to enable further innovative solutions. Solutions around housing affordability, something we've spoken about already in our increasingly rapidly urbanizing metros. Leveraging mobility data to build smarter developments. Driving ROI in your businesses with deeper consumer insights to help your sales teams close deals faster. How we can partner more deeply to accelerate digitization in your business. Whatever the solutions are, throughout every step of the real estate business journey, we strive to empower you to make confident decisions in the sustainable development of tomorrow's communities.
Aside from intuitive services such as integrated media and marketing solutions, PropertyGuru for Business also offers a very robust real estate data platform to help you in making more confident decisions, as Jeremy has talked about. On top of that, we also have mortgage products to help property owners with financing their homes, workflow solutions to drive more transparency and efficiency in your business. Then the ability to make confident decisions in a timely manner, especially in times of volatility and uncertainty, is business critical. As such, we'd like to invite our esteemed colleague, Dr. Lee, who will share his thoughts on how we can harness the power of data and technology to be able to address the current and future challenges in order to gain a competitive advantage. Mr. Lee, please.
Okay, this is the first time I jog into the stage. So, good morning, everyone. I believe everyone has a very eventful day. The events are very well planned, thanks to all the organizers and all the people behind. Today, I will be sharing with you about navigating with data science insights to combat uncertainties. Now, I am a research guy, so when I first started my career as a PhD graduate in MIT, data is like my lifeblood. I always deal with data to discover about what is going on in the markets, how can we create the next best thing. So, the question is, we know from just now the presentation that it's very uncertain, right? The economy outlook is very uncertain. There is equally high upside, and there's also equally very significant downside risks. How should we manage, right? Now, traditionally, when we think about risks, there's two ways about thinking of them, right? From research, we found that people either flight or fight, right? And most of the time, a lot of companies, they consolidate their investment strategies, they kind of dial down their investment. At the other side, right, you see people relying on intuition. Very few anecdotal data points to make very key decisions about land acquisitions. So, what does that tell you? It's very risky, right? But with data, we could actually paint a more holistic picture about what is going to happen. And what does data offer us in terms of helping us to make the right decisions? First, we can use data mining. Now, the way we look at data from a data mining perspective is different. Now, usually when we look at data, we wanted to identify trends. But from a business perspective, I'm looking at what are the market gaps. In other words, what are the anomalies. The second part is about pricing and measuring of risk. There are some risks that are not reflected. They are very difficult to measure. But with additional data layers, or what we call the non-traditional data layers, we could actually price and measure. And the last one that we are going to talk about is about nowcasting and scenario planning. Imagine when the data that you observe, usually transaction data, price indices, they are a reflection of the data or the demand that occurred probably 6 months ago. But are there ways that we can be more forward-looking? So, I use data science to provide a use case. Okay, we look at this particular Mont Chiara place. Assuming that I am a property seeker, right? I look at projects. I could be also a developer trying to think about the positioning of my project. Now, by using my platform, I screen through all the projects, their pricing, their transaction volume. Then I identify the outliers. And what do I find? Right? The interesting thing is, what I find is these projects, right, actually is trying to tell me something. Because from data mining perspective, I don't have priors. I don't have any belief. I'm trying to understand what the data is going to tell me. Now, let's go to the next one. If I go deeper, this is what I find. I find that the median price actually went up in the first 3 months of 2022, while the rest of the median price of all the condos in KL is actually coming down. Why is that so? Is that something that we missed out? So when I did a deep dive, I did a Google search of this particular project, I realized they are actually close to 3 international schools. In other words, there are already speculation, there's already expectations that the COVID measures are going to be relaxed. So such indicators or such usage of data mining allow us to forecast and understand what are the risks, what are the upsides. And interestingly, by April, the COVID measures in Malaysia was lifted. Now let's go to the next one. What about measuring of risk? Now, traditionally, if I were to look at risk, I will look at the price trend, right? And then find the 10-year window, how volatile the price are, we usually use what we call the standard deviation approach. But in today's market, that window is becoming shorter and shorter, right? And most of the time we use qualitative measures, right? How do we then have a very objective way of measuring the risk? There's a few ways, such as, trying to understand the non-traditional layers, to model all these risks that sometimes we cannot even observe, such as political risks, climate change risks. And let me use the next part, which is climate change. Climate change is going to be a very key risk. There are 2 types of risks. One is the physical risk. How do we mitigate them? How do we expect them to actually have an impact on the prices? So this is a case study of Boulder County in USA. The academics, they did a research by layering the different data, right? And to find out how impactful the floods have on the properties. Of course, the discount was quite significant. It was about 9.4%, and when there's a flood, you actually incur a further discount of 6.25%. But that may not be reflected in the price trends. So what about trying to understand the risk better when we are trying to model the unknown unknowns, right? In today's market, it's very uncertain. There are a lot of things that can go either way. So, for instance, we talk about the Russian-Ukraine conflict just now. How will it end? That is always the burning question, and people have difficulty in trying to model that. But what we can do is model that impact and mitigate our risks. Now, let's go to the next slide. The key part here is about real-time data. How do we use non-traditional layers of data to actually create insights? So, for instance, a group of Harvard economists, one of them being Ed Glaser, he's a very famous urban economist, he found a way to actually monitor price changes through the opening of Starbucks. So when there's a new Starbucks, you realize they found that after controlling all the factors, it's related to a 0.5 increase in home prices within a year, right? And that is very significant. So when we look at the using data science to look at the map, it's very interesting. In Malaysia, all the high price areas, this is a heat map, right? All the high price areas tends to be aligned with the Starbucks. So what does that tell you? If you want to open a retail, what does that tell you, right? If you are projecting the prices. So it's very interesting. So to conclude, I think data will be the new currency currently and in the future. And in some places where markets do not have that transaction data, non-transactional data such as portal demand, which is like how people are clicking platforms, mobility patterns, energy usage, they will become more and more important. Right? And I believe we will have to work very closely between the private and public sector. Right? Now, in PG, we are striving to create the trust platform in Southeast Asia. And it is my honor to introduce my esteemed colleague, Mr. Bob Coppers, the Director of Strategy, Data and Software Solutions, to give you some insight of our new upcoming product. Thank you.
I have one. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, thank you for being here. My name is Bob Coppers, and I'm the Director of Strategy at Data and Software Solutions at PropertyGuru. And today I'm going to speak to you about a couple of cool things. And I'm going to share some news with you that you find hopefully as interesting as I find it. If my clicker works. Thank you. Yeah, so we've been on this journey of becoming and being the trusted platform and being the trusted advisor for anybody making property decisions. And in this journey, we see that the markets have been becoming more transparent, but we're not fast enough. We're changing that. So I would like to share some news with you guys. Thank you. You saw it right. Vantage Plus is now DataSense, and it's better than ever. And we're expanding. You saw it right. It's not just Malaysia anymore. DataSense will now soon be available in Indonesia, Vietnam, Singapore, and Thailand. Our proprietary demand and insights data, as well as supply trends, will be available in all our markets. Want to know more? Let's dive in. Our platform has always been transparent about sales and rental transactions in the Malaysian real estate market. But now, with mobility data, we can actually go beyond the transaction and go into consumer behavior across all of our markets. Where are residents moving to and from? How many and what kind of domestic or foreign customers visit your hotels or malls, or your competitors' malls or hotels? At what time, for how long, and much more. Mobility data allows us to help you with many different use cases. Consumer residential origin, foot traffic trends, trade area identification, catchment area cannibalization, residential density mapping, mobility flows, competitive intelligence, you name it, much, much more. But you know what's the best part? We can do this for individual commercial assets, and it's updated monthly with daily insights. Ask yourself this: why work with census data at the state level, which is gathered only once every 10 years, when instead you can actually work with more actionable insights and with far more granularity and much more timely? Doing so will significantly improve your market research, your feasibility studies, your target audience identification, prospecting, project branding, and again, much more. We can support this in all of our markets, including with demographics data, which is, for example, gender, age, but also resident profiles like students, professionals, affluence, parent, again, all within areas that are smaller than 1 square kilometer. And we refresh it monthly, both for where people live and where people work. Many of our markets are actually quite opaque, with little to no market-wide and granular insights available. But even then, transaction data is a lagging indicator that provides insights only months after the transaction has been started from a consumer perspective. This is why we are now opening up our treasure trove of leading property supply and demand data from our marketplaces, to drive transparency into the ecosystem and support you to make timelier and better informed decisions based on data that sits much earlier in the consumer properties acquisition lifecycle. Our proprietary data supports identifying key supply, demand, and pricing trends, including in traditionally quite opaque areas such as Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi. These actionable insights will greatly contribute to your ability to understand the latest on what's happening in your markets. It will allow you to identify upcoming hidden hotspots, as well as identify areas of popularity decline, all before your competitors or the rest of the market does. But it doesn't stop there. Our data also supports pricing decisions, prospecting, launch timing, and much more, all at the individual project level, regional level, or national level. Again, updated on a monthly basis. If you are interested to find out more, please feel free to reach out via the QR code, or try DataSense at the booth outside. It's right there for the trying. With DataSense now refreshed with more actionable insights than ever before, and live in Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, Indonesia, and Thailand, we have taken another big step to supporting the industry to make more confident and timely property decisions. We are focused on designing solutions that help our clients identify growth opportunities and optimize performance, as well as creating what's next. And now, I would like to introduce my colleague, Manav, Chief Technology Officer at PropertyGuru, to share more about how we're creating what's next. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. And to all the guests here, and hello to my fellow gurus who are joining us here and watching us remotely from all our markets, all our offices. Trust, it's a word that you've heard a few times from all my colleagues, Dr. Lee, Shinyi, and Hari, spoke about our ambition to build the trust platform for property in Southeast Asia. What is trust platform? For us, it's the infrastructure through which anyone seeking or selling property can make confident decisions because principles of trust uphold each transaction. It could be a financial transaction or it could be a simple information exchange. But trust at scale can only be built with technology, automation, data. It's not possible to deliver trust at scale manually. And this massive undertaking requires us to innovate continuously in these areas. Fortunately, it's a fantastic time to be in PropTech because technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, AR, VR, mixed reality now continue to find applications across many existing and new areas. With blockchain, not crypto, blockchain, moving from hype towards a certain maturity, Web 3.0 will likely have a lasting impact and a profound one on the real estate industry. At PropertyGuru, we use our biannual hackathons to explore new technologies or applications of existing technologies in new areas. Hackathons are a great way to unlock creativity and growth mindset. PropertyGuru hackathons, we organize our hackathons in a 24-hour non-stop format. Teams of 5 to 6 capped at that number, work non-stop through 24 hours to come up with solutions. And these constraints or these limits on resources like time or team sizes, they force the teams to drop constraints on creativity, allowing for unique, diverse, and innovative solutions in a short time. In our last hackathon, which we held in November, we worked on real problem statements shared by developer clients and involved their representatives in co-creating some really, really good solutions. More than 100 gurus, PropertyGuru employees, formed 20 teams to participate in Guru Hackathon version 8, our 8th hackathon. You will hear directly from the 3 finalists in a bit. But before that, here's a small behind-the-scenes video from the event that we had last month. And when 21 teams like they participated this time, it was so much that we got done.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be a judge for the recent hackathon, and I was so impressed with the quality of the solutions solving real-time problems.
And we also actually most delighted that we have such a sporting developer, owner, right?
What an amazing 24 hours it's been at PropertyGuru HQ.
It can work in a real life. A very interesting event, and good luck.
It's so incredible to see the variety of ideas based on real problems that our developer clients are facing.
Amazing talent across the PropertyGuru group. So thank you very much, everyone who participated.
I would now like to invite the real stars of this event, the hackathon finalists, to come and showcase their demos to all of you.
Hello everyone. Hope you are all enjoying the event. We are Hackathon finalist team number 1. The prototype that our team developed aims to solve one of those enduring problems for sales and marketing teams for developers, poor lead quality. The solution that we have, it's called Leads 360, and what it does is advanced lead qualification. Advanced lead qualification equips the sales and marketing teams with great insights regarding the likelihood of a lead to actually make the purchase, as well as insights which allow them to calibrate the sales pitch even before picking up the phone. Can we cue the video, please?
One of the biggest problems plaguing new project sales today is lead quality. Only 1 out of 10 leads are genuinely interested in knowing more about a project. When sales teams reach out, these are a few of the common issues they come across. The contact number or email address is invalid. The customer doesn't remember inquiring about the project. Location and budget preferences don't match. Is there a way to help sales teams increase productivity and close deals faster? Introducing Leads 360. Harness the power of PropertyGuru's rich first-party data and unlock advanced lead qualification. Leads 360 will verify contact information and identify which direct leads are valid and more likely to progress down the sales funnel. Hundreds of signals, including budget filters, searched locations, viewed properties and frequency of search, among many more, collected on PropertyGuru's marketplaces, power the proprietary lead scoring technology. It doesn't end there. Leads 360 will offer lookalike funnels for sales teams to reach out to indirect leads, customers who are yet to inquire directly, but who have inquired on similar projects. Customer participation in the lookalike program will be consent-based and strictly adhere to PDPA requirements. Advanced lead qualification is at the heart of Leads 360, but there are additional capabilities to make the lives of marketing teams easier. Search patterns on PropertyGuru's marketplaces will be available to marketing teams to utilize when planning targeted campaigns to boost the leads funnel. Be it a CSV file, a Facebook campaign, or leads sourced from PropertyGuru's advertising solutions, Leads 360 will allow qualification of leads sourced from anywhere. Additionally, the solution will offer complete flexibility and plug into your existing workflows and CRM systems via APIs. Leads 360. Collect leads from anywhere, qualify and enrich with PropertyGuru's technology, and consume on any CRM of your choice. See you at our booth.
Thank you so much. Quick introduction to the team which worked on the prototype. So we have a team of product managers, software engineers, data scientists, and marketers who worked on Leads 360. So Junkit, Sam, Ayushi, Shivam, Yatin, Monica, Sri Krishna, and Arnab, and I am Bibaswan. Also, special round of appreciation for Jen from IJM Land, Malaysia, and Suchanya and Nalinya from Origin Group, Thailand, who helped us refine the problem statement and build the solution. Thank you so much. Please stop by the booth. We are team number 1, and really looking forward to your support. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Just wait for everyone. Hi everyone, we're team 2. My name's Wenli, and this is my teammates Kitty, Siu Huang, Shaz, and Pallavi. We are so excited to be here today in front of you all to share about our solution, the Livability Index. I think this resonates so much with what we do here at PropertyGuru at DSS. And we're excited to show you the power of data and what we can do for you. Let's go with the cue.
Introducing the Livability Index. Let's look into what it can do for you. Dealing with unsold properties is something that many developers face. We created this tool to help you market these locations more attractively, backed by valuable data points at your fingertips. As competition gets tougher, it is not only important to differentiate yourself from the crowd, but to also connect with your consumers on a deeper level by addressing beyond their needs and wants. Behaviors of property seekers have evolved, and we want to help you identify what matters most to them beyond square footage. Consumers have become more socially and environmentally aware, especially where things like sustainability and proximity to greenery have become high priorities. Industry surveys, including PropertyGuru Consumer Sentiment Survey, say 1 out of 3 millennials are willing to pay more for properties with EV charging points. And 2 out of 3 consumers are willing to pay a higher insurance premium to protect their homes from climate change effects. So why should this matter to you? The beginning of the property seeking journey is key in deciding whether you get your foot in the door and take that next step with your consumer. Let's open those doors together by embracing the reality that value to property seekers means value to you.
Introducing the Livability Index, where you can enter the address of your development and see all the available data points specific to this location. For every location, there will always be pros and cons. And what we want to do is to give you the extra boost to focus on the key selling points of that particular location. You know how to sell what you are building, but how about things around it that are not shown simply by looking at Google Maps or the usual property listings? Looking at this data set, I know at a glance that the location is great in terms of population density, pollution level, closeness to nature, and accessibility to recycling facilities. There are also other indexes that we offer on this page. These are computed based on multiple data sources and giving a consolidated view of statistics that are not readily available. With that, you could easily embed it onto your website by simply copying these codes that has been generated. This requires minimal technical effort and no design required from your end. Having these data points at your fingertips would enable you to give that competitive edge, and it will have a powerful impact to your property seekers.
How do we see this solution evolving in the future? We want to focus more on factors that not only add value to the property buyer, but also give you more timely insights that allow you to speak more intimately to your target audience. Come to visit our booth to explore the solution and find out more.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So we really cannot ignore the fact that nowadays, and property seekers today and tomorrow are really looking beyond location, price, square footage, amenities. We truly believe that value to property seekers is value to you. So do come by our booth and check out our solution, and we'll be happy to speak to you and let you learn more. Thank you.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are Team 3 from PropertyGuru, and my name is Bala, and this is Lynn, and that's Karthik and Tilak. Today, we are here to solve one of the most common problems in property development. As a property developer, you might want to know what type of property you want to build, where exactly you want to build, and how to sell it to the right customer. Introducing our product, Data Seed, which can solve all these problems to you. Data Seed offers two main things: market insights and campaign tool. So the market insights gives you all the supply and demand growth and all the customer preferences. The preferences may include like property type, price, bedrooms, amenities, etc. And the campaign tool allows the developer to connect to the potential buyer in different aspects of their property buying journey. Here is what DataSeed can offer to you. Short video, please.
Property developers' main challenge is reading the market. Deciding on where to build, what to build, and selling to the right customers. Introducing DataSeed to solve these problems. DataSeed is your trusted advisor for market insights. PropertyGuru is a market leader. We have first-hand market data. This can give great insights in planning and execution.
DataSeed provides two important tools. Marketing Insights tool helps in building right properties. Campaign tool helps in selling to the right customers.
Market Insights provides overall market outlook to understand current trends. Developers get granular insights on particular geography with filters on property type, bedroom, etc. With consumer search behavior data, it's easy to see the preferences. With Campaign tool, you can see which properties getting the most interest among the customers. It's very powerful because of the direct feedback from potential buyers and ease of integration to other marketing solutions. To find out more, please visit our booth. Thank you.
Thank you. To know more, please visit our booth. We are Team 3. Thank you.
Thank you, all the hackathon finalists. Those were some really, really fantastic demos. You must be proud. I am. Despite being part of multiple hackathons, either as a participating team member or as a judge, every time I attend one more, it still surprises me how much can be done in 24 hours. And what you saw was done by these small teams in a non-stop 24-hour hackathon. I hope all of you enjoyed these demos. And our teams, like they said, are available through the day to share more in the booths outside. You can now vote for your favorite idea or hack right away, or visit the booths outside to learn more before voting. Your vote is precious. It's important. It tells us what you need, what you want, and will help us refine these ideas further. Enjoy the rest of the day. We have some great sessions lined up after lunch. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Property Guru for Business. Wow, I bet that launch worked up our appetites, yeah? You guys must be hungry. So it is now time for our lunch break. Our ARIS team will lead the way to the restaurant on the second level. Please remember to show your name badges to get into our exclusive networking lunch, yeah? Okay? And also don't forget to check out the solutions by Hackathon teams and vote for your favorite. Voting is only until 4 p.m. Also, the PG4 business booth outside the other area. Don't forget to check them out. And our media friends, please proceed to the press con room. And hopefully we'll see you guys back by 1:30. Enjoy your lunch, everyone.
you.